Hey everybody, welcome into this week's episode of Tony's Spot on Fishing. I'm your host, Tony Krizak. This week on the top 5, the bass are done spawning. It is definitely summertime around Chicagoland, and we're talking about the top 5 best post-spawn early summer bass baits you should be throwing on your favorite waters. The first thing we're going to talk about is with all the new emergent vegetation around, lily pads, thick mats, things of that nature, any kind of vegetation, it's already starting to pool up on top of the surface. And I'll tell you what, the best thing to do is throw in a frog. Spro actually produces one of my favorites. You can walk the dog with them as it comes through the cover. If you come into an open area, as you're twitching, that bait will glide side to side on the surface and is basically 100% snag proof. You can throw it in pads, reeds, bulrushes, thick mats, whatever the case may be. Integrate a few pauses here and there as well. There is just nothing like it. It is lights out. Keeping in that topwater theme, there's so many different topwaters to choose from. My personal favorite though, it's an old standby, tried and true from Heddon, the Spook. There's various sizes to that bait between the regular Spook, the Puppies, Super Spook Juniors, the Super Spook itself. They're all great. And it's a lot just matching the forage base on your particular body of water. If they're feeding on shad, match it to the size of those shad. If they're feeding on panfish, you can match it to the size of some of those potato chip sized bluegills. It creates a great commotion on the water with the rattle. Most of them have that one knocker rattle to it, gliding side to side as you twitch it along. At times you can integrate some pauses into it, but I prefer just a straight retrieve, getting that bait dancing side to side. Play around a little quicker, faster hops, sometimes slower hops. They work best. Low light conditions, cloudy skies. First thing in the morning, you get up real early as the sun's coming up. If it's going to be a bluebird day, throw that bait when it's sun's first coming up, throw that bait when the sun's going down. But if you get a cloudy, rainy, drizzly day, I have no issues throwing a Spook all day long. The fish calling power of a topwater, it'll catch them for you. Now our next selection, we kind of go to the other side of the spectrum, fishing a little slower and a little deeper at times, and that's a Senko. Now a Senko is very versatile in the fact that we can Texas rig it, keep it weedless. We can pitch it in the pockets in the mats. We can fish it on weed edges. We can throw up on deeper flats and get it through. If we're strictly working edges, we can wacky rig it. And essentially, it's a do-nothing bait, but we can work it as a jerk bait. We can lift and drop it. We can jig it. It's such a versatile soft plastic. And if those fish are in a transition period and you just can't get them to move on a moving bait for whatever reason, there's some about that Senko, that do-nothing bait, will hook them every single time. A little more action on a wacky rig style. Obviously, we can get a little bit deeper in cover when we're Texas rigging that bait. Now, before we get to number 2 on our list, we want to take a break and show you a clip of us meeting Sergeant Tommy's kids, Kaylin and Brad. We had the pleasure of meeting with them and hearing about their wonderful organization and what they're doing getting children involved in the outdoors. Hey everybody, right now we are here at Herrick Lake, part of the DuPage County Forest Preserve, to tell you about a great event that's going to be happening here on June 16th. It's part of Family Fishing Days here, presented by Sergeant Tommy's kids. With me right here today are 2 members of the board. I have Kaylin, thank you so much for being here. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Kaylin Fessmeyer, who is Sergeant Tommy's cousin and also happens to be the event chair for this great event, the family fishing event here at Herrick Lake, can tell us now a little bit about Tommy and what it was like being around him, growing up with him.
I'm very lucky to have had him as a cousin that I grew up around, and he did teach me to fish when I was 5 years old, along with my dad and my grandpa, and he did teach me to wakeboard when I got to be a teenager, and he was always so generous with his time. I know that he would want to see other little children learning to fish and just spending time outside today. Tommy was in the Marines, and he loved being in the Marine Corps, and unfortunately we did lose Tommy in 2006 in Iraq. As soon as Tommy passed, we knew that we wanted to do something with his legacy. It was really important to us that his loss not be in vain. He made such a big impact on all of us, and we wanted to make sure that that impact kept going with other children and other families. So pretty much immediately, our family started Sergeant Tommy's Kids. It's the Sergeant Thomas M. Gilbert Memorial Foundation, and we knew that we wanted to make an impact on children because Tommy loved children so much. And we wanted it to be about the outdoors because he was so passionate about the outdoors. He loved to fish. We have a mission to introduce children to the outdoors, and we say that we want to increase childhood appreciation and education for the outdoors, and so far we are 12 years strong and doing just that. We're very happy to be here for the 12th annual Sergeant Tommy's Kids Family Fishing Day.
And what exactly, on June 16th, what is everything we have going on here that day?
Yeah, registration starts at 8 a.m. and the event kicks off at 9 a.m. with some introductions and the Star Spangled Banner from a very talented young singer. Then we let kids free, and we have an event where we allow kids to take a rotation of different things around the lake. They'll take turns learning to cast in a field off of Herrick, and then they will spend some time around the lake learning to fish and really getting their hands dirty. And the other event that we have going on at the same time is crafts. So children will learn to cast and they will spend time at the lake, and then they can also head on over to the pavilion where they will be doing different types of craft activities with some of our volunteers. Throughout the whole day we have lunch for children, we have different snacks that we offer, and they will get to keep everything they get here today, including their fishing pole and their tackle box.
Brad Palhink right now with us. He is of course the chairman of the board for Sergeant Tommy's Kids, also was Tommy's brother-in-law.
You know, Tony, he was just a big spirit. He had such an impact on everybody he met. That's why Sergeant Tommy's Kids is never struggling for volunteers and people to help, because he touched so many people's lives. My best memories of him are his smile, his smirk, his confidence. He was just such a gifted outdoorsman. His father exposed him to it, and the student quickly became the master and was teaching him stuff. I remember being out fishing with Tommy up at his parents' cottage in Michigan, and we were going out fishing, and he dipped his finger in the water and he said, I think I'll try chartreuse today.
What is the whole foundation, the goals?
Absolutely. So we exist to promote youth appreciation and education of the outdoors. And you can best serve our foundation by coming out and supporting the day. You can make donations always online at sergeanttommyskids.org.
We'll be here Saturday, June 16th, 9 a.m. right here, Herrick Lake, part of the DuPage County Forest Preserves. If you haven't gone to Sergeant Tommy's Kids website, please do so. Check it out. You can still register to be on the waiting list. This event is full, but there may be a few kids that can't make it.
Yep.
Last minute, you can still get in. We invite you to join us on our YouTube page. The link for the video will be in the description of this show to see the full conversation we had with Kaylin and Brad and hear more about Sergeant Tommy's Kids, what a great person Sergeant Tom Gilbert was, and of course, all the great work their organization is doing. So again, we invite you all to check out that full interview on the link below. Right after the spawn, that period we're in right now, these bass have recovered. They're starting to feed again. They're actively searching for food. How can we make a bait stand out? What can we throw, especially in a heavily foraged lake, like a shad body lake, things of that nature? And one of my best answers I can tell you is to throw a square bill crankbait. It'll deflect nicely off of any timber, brush, rock, and a lot of times when that bait hits something and it caravans off one way or the other, you'll actually be able to get a strike that way. And it keeps the hooks from fouling up. Now, you have to be careful with them. They're not good around thick vegetation. But if you've got at least 2-3 feet before you hit weed tops, it can be thrown there. And like I say, it excels off of weed edges, rocks, timber. We can work that bait, get those reaction strikes when we need them. My all-time favorite early summer bait to be throwing is a spinnerbait. There is no more versatile bait any angler can have in their arsenal than a spinnerbait. Tandem blades, meaning it has a Colorado blade and a willow leaf blade. The faster we retrieve a spinnerbait, the higher in the water column it rides. The slower we retrieve a spinnerbait, the lower in the water column it rides. We can fish all levels of the water column with this bait. Such a great active search bait. Great tool to have in our arsenal. Now the other models that we can also throw that I favor heavily early in the summer, you know, we already had a few warm days, but you can actually run that single Colorado, a night version for all you night fishermen. It's a great way to get out of the heat and fish those early summer nights. And I'll tell you, bass are nocturnal. You'll catch them at night, and it's one of my favorite presentations. One of my favorite ways to catch them is a spinnerbait. Daytime, nighttime, it'll get the job done for you. As always, we invite you to shop the Amazon links that are here in the video description, where you can purchase any of the baits that we have talked about and help support Tony's Spot On Fishing. And of course, we want to hear from you too. What are some of your favorite early summer bass baits? On your favorite waters, where are you guys throwing? Where are you going? What are you throwing? Let us know in the comments below. We love hearing from everybody. That's about it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, my name is Tony Krizek, and we'll see you next time on Spot On Fishing.